why don't you tell us who you are and what you do, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll ask questions because I'm
Mhm.
very interested in what you're up to.
Sure. So my name is Johanna. I work as a legal product manager for a startup called Vamoz. We are enhancing or enabling remote work abroad. So that's what I do right now.
You're
It's
working
kind of
abroad. Yeah.
I'm working abroad. I'm living our product. So it's kind of a lifestyle as well. Being able to work from wherever, you have more flexibility. Also, it's possible then to escape Swiss winter, for example, and kind of adjusting or reframing your daily life. So that's one part of what I do. Another part is I'm doing a PhD in remote work as well on the legal aspects. And I'm still also, it's where I knew Ed from, I'm also in the advisory board of the Ignite movement, which is about finding purpose in your, yeah, daily life and work. So that's where I know Ed from. It's also a couple years ago now already, but we connected a lot on this topic.
So you're still moving in the same path that you were when the last time we talked, aren't you?
Bit. Of course, I'm not that active with Ignite anymore, since I'm just in the advisory board, have a meeting like maybe once a year. So I'm not an active participant anymore, but it truly inspired me when I was the president of this movement to really also walk the talk and find a job and a way that or a path that I want to pursue during my Ignite time already. So it was a lot of about values back then already. What do I want with my professional life? How do I want to work? Where do I want to work? And so that just goes on, and it kind of moves with me and grows with me a little bit. So yeah.
So Ignite, if I remember correctly, is a leadership program for college students. Am I correct about that? Or is it
Yeah, so
broader
it's
than
a
it's
movement.
broader?
We usually do a conference once a year. It's for college students, exactly, where we invite leaders from all over the world, or also talk to companies who have a purpose-driven um, culture, and it should then inspire students to also find their own way within these companies, or maybe building their own career with this purpose mindset. Like, what do I really want to do? What is it that I'm passionate about? What is it that I'm good at? So they're finding either the companies who have the right values for them, or also creating their own way to find a purposeful or meaningful work life. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so you finished school, what, 2 years ago? Two
It's
and a half years
three,
ago?
almost
Three?
4 years now. Yeah, yeah,
Almost 4 years.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just trying to put the date, or time frame together. So where have you lived remotely, remotely in these years since we last talked? You got a bunch of places?
Um, yeah, so I'm still based in Switzerland, so I haven't moved abroad fully. But starting to work more and more from South Africa, from Cape Town area, just because Swiss winter is kind of depressing. Also, yeah, my fiance has some family here, so this is why we're working here for personal reasons as well. So he also kind of changed his career a little bit so we can do this together. Then also in Spain a lot. Yeah, because my family also has some yeah, roots there, and in Sweden as well, also for family reasons. So these are the usual spots. Then I've also been to Berlin, working from there over the summer. Also different places in Spain, like Barcelona. Yeah, so also Austria, Germany, different places. Yeah.
Oh, what a great life.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just temporary, you know. It's not like sometimes it's up to 2 or 3 months, but usually it's about like 2 weeks or so just to get another setting. Yeah.
But when you go to these places, you're not going as a tourist. You're going as someone who's kind of living there for a short period of time, and so you see it differently than a tourist would.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
suspect.
that's also the interesting thing about it because it's not like a normal holiday stay. You kind of have your daily life with your daily routines, your calls, etc. But you still get to enjoy the sun, or you can go for a walk in the evenings at the beach or whatever, go to an interesting bar, restaurant just to see something different. And that makes also work more motivating for me because then I know, okay, after this, I can go for, I don't know, a wine tasting, or we're having a nice run during lunch, or I can swim in the pool instead of, yeah, freezing somewhere else. So, yeah.
So do um, you build relationships with people, say your age, while you're in these places?
Yeah, I mean, if the places I always come back to, I of course know some people already. If it's just temporary for a short period of time, usually I go with a friend or with my fiance or somebody else. Then we are just together and having this remote work experience and just yeah,
I, I,
exploring together.
I asked that because my experience.
Mhm,
I haven't had your experience, and I'm envious of what you're experiencing. But I've gone places, and I'm not really interested in being a tourist. I'm interested in kind of blending into what's going on
mhm.
in that city or that
Yeah.
community. And I find that really interesting. It's like in 2017 and 18, I spent 5 weeks in Vienna, and
Mhm.
I, I mean, I did, I went to museums, stuff like that, but I also just kind of on the streets and I'd talk to people, and I'd be in a coffee shop, I'd start talking to people, I'll talk to anybody if they'll
Yeah.
talk to me. And I got to know much more about the city, and I mean, I was in this coffee shop in Vienna, and these two or three women came in with a bunch of high school kids. And these kids were just so genuine and happy and talking to I mean, it was like, oh, those are really cool kids. I'd like to hang out with them. And so I went over to one of the women and I said, so who are you? What's this crowd that you're a part of? And oh, we're a school group from Romania. I said, oh,
Mhm.
well, that's great. I mean, and so I could ask questions about Romania and stuff like that. So that's what I see as one of the benefits of going to some place not as a tourist, but rather as kind of I want to
Yeah.
fit in and see if I want to maybe I'll come back and live here someday.
Yeah, yeah, you can kind of try how it is to be there during your normal life and go to the local grocery stores or visit different cafes and just immersing yourself a little bit into the culture as you would in your like day-to-day life. And it kind of gives you a different feeling for the city that you're in or something else. I think it's really yeah, it's like a good test run, and it's quite inspiring just to see if you could imagine living there. And yeah, or maybe also for a certain period of the year. For example, here in Cape Town, we talked about it now that we would love to be here like 3 months per year, maybe just for a temporary season when the weather is not that great in Switzerland. Then we come back again, but I couldn't imagine living here like fully permanently because it's not that safe. You don't have the same possibilities that you do in Switzerland. I could just walk out the door. I don't have to
Right.
think about anything. Here, as a woman, I cannot go to the city by myself without like worrying that something might happen. So yeah, that's good also to learn just to see the maybe the darker sides that you don't see as a tourist as well. So yeah.
So how do you with your company? How do you do? I'm not sure exactly what you do, but I know it's a legal company and you're doing
Yeah.
remote work. So how do you do legal remote work? How does that work?
So we do a compliance test for remote workspace. So what we do, we have companies are our clients, and they have to assess whether their employees are a legal risk for them if they work remotely. For example, if they work remotely for a too long time, the company might have to pay taxes in this other
Huh.
country, or there are social security risks. So HR has our tool just to assess and see do they accept or reject the employee's request. So it's a software for HR so they can get this full assessment within a couple of days instead of going to a lawyer and getting a full legal assessment for each different area. So I would say it's just like a legal software compliance tool that we offer, yeah.
Back when COVID started, a lot of companies sent everybody home and they were doing remote work from home.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing lately that they're asking all these people to come back because they weren't
Hmm.
pleased with the performance that they were getting when they're at home,
Hmm.
doing their work in their pajamas. And I mean, is that something that's real, or is that just kind of a manufactured story that the internet likes to send around?
I would say you also have to differentiate between home office, like you would do normally in the same city you live and work in, and then you have this remote work scenario where you go as a benefit, you have the opportunity to go for a couple of weeks to Spain, for example, and work from there. It's more like a temporary setting that companies can offer as a benefit to their
Uh,
employees. So there you don't really have this pajama risk, but also I think it really depends on the person, whether the person is a remote worker that really enjoys working remotely. And then there are people who really want to go to the office and they are really not able to concentrate in their own home. So I think it's really up to the person and whether if it's forced or if it's really just a company policy, you are allowed to do it, but you don't have to. But we also see there are more and more companies who have this return to office policy now. So there are more, yeah, strict rules on having to work at the office and less home office days. Um, but that doesn't really affect us because we still have a different scenario where it's just a benefit. So for us, it's actually good
yeah.
because yeah, then they can offer something at least, which would be then a temporary shorter stays abroad. But yeah.
Um, is there a place that you would like to go work that you haven't yet?
I would love to go to Australia for like 3 months or something.
Uh-huh.
Then also really immersing myself into the culture and having my normal day-to-day life there because I have never been, and I think it would be cool just to adjust to the lifestyle and kind of blend in and get to know people. And that's I would actually prefer doing that than just traveling around for 3 months without any yeah, normal daily activities.
Well, that makes sense to me. I have traveled a lot. I haven't traveled a lot in the last 4 years, except in the U.S., but haven't
Mhm.
driven out, driven, traveled out of the country
Yeah.
except once. That was a year and a half ago. Um, but it seems that it's becoming more difficult to travel. The complexity of traveling between countries has become more difficult. Am I right about that?
I mean, especially to the US. It's
Yeah.
hard. Also for remote work, it's strictly forbidden. So that's something I wouldn't recommend doing. But also, I think it's stricter also for remote work within European countries or other countries. It's you need more documentation than you did before, so it's stricter regulated. And I think immigration wise, it's not that hard in the EU. There's not really a difference, but when it comes to business travel or remote work, you just need more documentation nowadays. So that's really something we feel after COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend who went to, I mean, this is 10, 15 years ago, but he flew to London and he was going to give a talk. He was,
Mhm.
and he didn't research anything. He just showed up, here's my passport. And they said, what are you here for? Oh, I'm here to give a talk. And he says, well, have you got your visa, your business visa? He had to have some kind of documentation that would allow him to come into the country and work. And he says, no. He says, well, we can't allow you in. And they sent him home,
Mhm.
sent him back to the US. So he couldn't
Yeah.
give his talk. And he was really kind of flabbergasted by that. And
Yeah.
so it's the way those things are, I guess, these days.
Yeah, no, so it's real. You have to have the right visa and everything, otherwise you can be rejected at the border, and then you have to go back. And I don't know, have you seen this movie with Tom Hanks, The Terminal, where he gets
Yeah,
stuck at the airport? I just watched it like I don't know 2 weeks ago or something, and as long as that doesn't happen, where you get stuck at the airport, I think for like 9 months,
well,
then
he's a
we're lucky.
citizen of his country when he leaves, and then that country is
Yeah, yeah,
overthrown, and it doesn't exist anymore when he lands in New York. And yeah, it's a really well done
yeah.
uh, film. Yeah, it's great. I never would have thought that being a world citizen would be more difficult today than it was, you know,
Mm.
even 10 years ago. It's gotten a
Yeah.
whole, it seems to be a whole lot more difficult. And I don't really understand why. And I don't really expect to ever actually have a really solid answer for that. But it just seems that that's the way it is. And it seems that there is, I hate to say it this way, is there's almost this kind of childish competitiveness between countries today that said, well, we're going to do this and you can't do this, and we're not going to let you do this. And it's like little kids in the playground, fighting over a toy or a shovel or something like that. And they say, well, I'm not
Yeah.
going to let you do that. I'm not, blah, 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 blah. You know how that is. But it has that kind of feel that it's all very petty. And when what we really need is more interaction and more
Yeah.
conversation across
And I
culture.
think many countries they also see the opportunity that, oh, okay, so people want to work remotely. So let's come up with a digital nomad visa that nobody actually is required to get, but it's just a way to make more money. And
Yeah,
then when you ask at the embassy, they're like, no, we actually don't need this. It's not necessary. It's just marketing. So it can be quite confusing as well. But
yes it
yeah.
yes it can. Yes it can. So you're working on a PhD, and
Yes.
so what is your PhD going to be looking at? What is it
Um,
studying?
Yeah, so when we look at these remote work cases, we always look at 5 different legal areas. But I look at the labor law aspect. So then there are some questions they're coming from the original posting scenario where an employee gets posted to a country to work there, and remote work is not really legally defined yet, or you don't find that many paragraphs or legal explanations about remote work anywhere. Not yet. It's still a work in progress. So a lot of rules about like the classical posting where employees get sent to another country to work there on a permanent or by temporarily basis apply to remote work as well. And there are like just a lot of questions that are unsolved within labor law. So for example, when somebody works in Spain for 2 weeks, they would have to live up to the minimum rest hours in Spain, or the maximum working hours. So if somebody is only allowed to work 6 hours in Spain, for example, I'm just saying a number now, then somebody who is being sent from Switzerland to Spain should also only work then 6 hours there. And that comes from this posting scenario, but it doesn't really make sense for remote work. So I just look at these some different questions, or if there's a public holiday, you would have to um, also be free on that day when there is a public holiday in Spain. and then you're not allowed to work even though you work for a Swiss company. So there are certain like labor law questions that I want to give some practical guidance and insight to. So yeah.
Well, that sounds great. So what I'm now seeing, which I didn't see 2, 3 years ago when we talked
Hmm.
before, was that this whole idea of remote work is something really brand new. And I just was thinking, oh, it's like working from home. It's just remote. It's remote because I'm
Hmm.
working off my phone or off my computer in a coffee shop or something. But it's not that. It's something much more developed idea where a company is sending you there for a specific purpose to be present in that place for.
Yeah.
And that's really gone on for a long time. I know a lot of people. I know people in the U.S. that have been in those situations, and they're like consulting engineers, and they'll go to Dallas, and they'll spend 6 months in Dallas because they're consulting on the installation of a new uh, production
Hmm.
system. So they're there to oversee that, and then when that's done, then they go back home or they go somewhere else or something like that. And we also have this thing, I don't know if you have that in Europe, um, called traveling nurses. Have you heard of this?
Hmm. No, not sure.
So these are nurses who hire out for, I think, anywhere from 3 to 12 months to go someplace where that hospital needs is in transition or something like that. They need nurses. So there's a whole organization of these men and women who are nurses that will, and they get paid really well. I had in the house I used to rent, there was a little apartment next door to me, and there was a woman that was a traveling nurse there, and she was there for I think 6 months, and then she was gone, and she just disappeared, went somewhere else. Who knows where she went? But
Hmm.
so this is not really an unusual thing, but it sounds like it's developing in a very specific way that. So I wonder. So here's my question. Sorry, I'm rambling. I apologize. Um, so you're obviously looking at this. I'm guessing you're obviously looking at this from a more European perspective on how European Union and countries in the European orbit are operating. Would it be similar or even the same as to what if we were having this conversation and you were an American citizen studying the same thing here? Would it be very similar?
I think it would be very similar because in every country there is this territorial principle. So that means that when you're crossing a border to another country, then the mandatory labor laws in that country apply. So that's something that is yeah, it's a standard worldwide. And then it's just about now in my thesis, I just go more into Swiss law, of course, and it's a guide for Swiss companies. But it would pretty much be the same if somebody from the US would come to Switzerland and then they have to live up to the Swiss standards. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think it would be the same problems or the same scenario since you have to really yeah hold yourself reliable to the Swiss standards. So it doesn't matter which country you enter. When you enter another country, you have to yeah take a look at their mandatory labor laws, and you cannot just say, oh, so I'm Swiss, so I don't care about the French laws or whatever. So it's yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I see all these different scenarios and I see them blending, but not blending in a coherent way. So, for
Hmm.
example, your fiance's mother has a health situation, and it's important for the two of you all to be there with her.
Hmm.
And so you go to South Africa and you're going to be there. Let's say you're going to be there a year because you're going to take care of her. She's recuperating from some kind of surgery or something like that, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
But while you're there, you're going to be doing work. You're going to be doing your job. So how would say the South African government or any government look at you if you're coming into the country to take care of a family issue, but you're also going to be doing your own job while you're there. How do you bring those two together?
Yeah, so then there are many aspects you have to look at. It's quite complicated. But if I would be here now, just from a labor law perspective, if I would be in South Africa for a year, then I would 100% have to really live up to these standards. Because if my Swiss employer would say, oh, just mind the Swiss standards and just ignore the South African ones, then they're gonna have a lawsuit, and you don't want that. So that's only like one aspect. And of course, you have the whole tax situation, the social security, which has to be re yeah, reviewed. And um, I don't want to give a law lecture here, but then there are data protection issues, immigration issues. So you have to get the right visa. You have to look at your tax situation. Where are you paying your taxes? Are you still covered on with your social security in Switzerland or not? So there are so many different areas you have to look at, but that can be
So
done
you,
with our
so
tools.
you can't just say, "Well, I'm here to take care of my mother-in-law." You can't just say that.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah.
No. Maybe that would help you with your employer, so they would allow your stay. But then the government doesn't care about that. Immigration doesn't care about that. Taxes, and
But
everything.
I mean, okay. So if you didn't tell them, you'd be in violation of the law, right?
Yeah, in 5 different areas. So I wouldn't recommend. So of course, before COVID, there was no remote work policy within most companies, and there was this don't ask, don't tell policy within many companies. But after COVID, also many countries and governments, immigration bureaus, etc., they get more and more sensitive to these travelers who are then entering as a tourist, and maybe they might bring their work computer. So that's something, for example, at the US border, what we have heard a lot, it's really being checked whether you're bringing your work computer. If you're going to perform work, for example, in the US, then you would need a work permit. And that's also in the many other countries if you stay for a longer period of time. If you're just entering as a tourist, but actually you're permanently working from there, you would need a work permit maybe, or maybe you're not even allowed to work remotely. So it really depends on the country and your nationality, if you're able to do that or not. If you have the citizenship of the destination country, for example, then it's not that complicated, and mostly you're allowed to stay and work there also if it's for a foreign company. But if you enter as a foreigner, you don't want to just go there and don't ask and don't tell anyone, because then you might have many different complications they would have to face. Also, the employer is quite in a dangerous position then. So yeah.
Wow, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated, and it keeps on getting more and more complicated because the awareness is growing, and it's getting, yeah, it's becoming a new norm to work remotely. So there are more and more rules.
Well, I'll give you another example of how this is sort of a difference between Austria and the US. So
Hmm.
in 2017, when I was in Vienna, I was at a conference, went to a conference, and on the last day of the conference, I was standing at a high top table in the hall where they had the meals, and they had mostly high top tables, so everybody was standing up and eating. I was having lunch with a guy, and these three high school girls came up to me and him and started talking to us. And it turns out that they were students at a business high school there in Vienna. Oh, well, that's very
Hmm.
interesting. And we asked us some questions, and then I said, I'm a leadership guy, and I'm going to be here all next week. Why don't I come out to your school and give a talk about leadership? And they said, that sounds great. So one of them calls her teacher that's somewhere else in the building. He says, I have this guy from America who wants to come talk about leadership. Can we do that? And she says, I don't know. Let me call the headmaster. She calls the headmaster, and the headmaster says, I don't know. Do what you think is best. And so she calls back to the student and says, yeah, he can come on Monday morning. And and that would never happen in the US. They would have to do some kind of criminal background check and all that kind of stuff that here. And I showed up at 8:45. I had 15 minutes with the faculty. I went to a class for an hour and then I spoke for an hour and had this wonderful time and everybody was pleased. Everybody was happy, and it was like there was just no restrictions on us being educationally alive with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting cultural difference.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And I made this comment to the headmaster. I said, this would have never happened in the US. It would have taken 6 months to get approval for me to come walk through the door, much less give a talk. He says, yeah, well, I've heard that. So, well, it's a really interesting sort of thing. So, when you get your PhD, what are you going to do? Are you going to teach, or are you going to continue doing what you're doing?
So I'm gonna do a combination most likely. Since I really like this area within the law. It's very dynamic. It's ever changing and it's something new. And I
Yeah.
didn't really see myself in a more conservative, traditional attorney bureau somewhere. Yeah, I'm pretty much going to continue with this work that I'm pursuing right now, and also just getting more and more expertise within the area since yeah, there are more and more questions popping up. So um, we already started with some courses and some like online courses for these topics to teach to HR are mostly our clients. So we're actually just starting this next month, so that's exciting. And then we'll see where it goes. But the goal would be to kind of yeah, have a little academy for our company and teach about these topics since they are quite complicated, and we just want to make them easy and accessible for HR or other people who might be interested. So
Sounds like an ideal topic for a YouTube channel.
yeah, true. That might also be a platform.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
do that. I mean, and because I think that there is how do I describe what I see? I think what all this complexity
Hmm.
reaches an inflection point where it begins to fail. And when it begins to fail, the people who have been supporting it, meaning businesses in particular, begin to push back and say, this isn't working. We need to have a different approach to what we're doing because you're
Hmm.
making it really difficult for us and it has no reason other than someone in your office is thinking we need to make this more restrictive than it probably needs to be. So I think it doesn't just go in one direction. It's going to change in a dynamic way that it won't look like, in 5 years or 10 years, it won't look like what it looks like today.
Yeah, for sure. I think it might be cool to have some learning videos as well on these topics, and because there are so many different areas. But then the problem is more that it is changing the whole time. So you would have to, of course, renew the content and just keep up to date. But we're already hosting seminars and webinars from time to time. But yeah, YouTube channel or maybe even a podcast might be a good idea. Having some experts on the channel.
So do people, I don't know, do people reach out to you individually and say, I see you're doing this kind of work. Can you tell me something? Or are you in a, do you have a facet of your work where you're like a coach for people who are having to address these kinds of issues in their business?
Yeah, so they're mostly addressing our company, the brands, which is known. My goal would, of course, be that I could also be more of a coach or which is also like a separate expert in this area, for, I don't know, separate coachings, keynote speeches, that sort of thing. That would be where I want to go after my PhD. Because I'm also really passionate about the topic since it's really also the way I'm designing my life to be. And that's also what I'm thinking a little bit, maybe how to combine like this whole life design aspect with this just legal remote work. Maybe have a combination as well on how can companies also, yeah, bring more flexibility to their employees. How can an individual design their life, for example, than saying, yeah, I'm going to stay 3 months per year in South Africa because I like the weather here. It brings me more joy. Just to kind of, you know, give them that sort of coaching as well, which I think would be more interesting to me also with my whole Ignite background and everything. So maybe also making that a little bit more clear and selling it as a whole product. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that anything that is new like this is primed for um, communication um, digitally online. And I think it, I'm, I'm not suggesting you change your plans, but I think it is at such a level that um, I mean you could do something every week. You could have a video every week because there's some. I mean, if you could do it 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, but
Mhm.
you have something. You could every week you could have something to say, and then as you watch what is transpiring in the world, you could take specific instances where this was the a feature of some incident going on, and you could address that. Say, well, this is what was happening in this situation where this person was was detained, or this person was sent home because of they failed to adequately fill in their visa request or whatever it may be. So it's
Mhm.
and I think it's being able to take the theory, you know, and the principles and the philosophy and apply it in real world situations. I think that's it's really valuable, and I think you could you would find a lot of people who would be interested in that. And you know, I mean, you're on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is an ideal platform for communicating that,
Yeah.
you know. So it's I think it's wide. I guess what I'm saying is there's a wide open um, field for you to cultivate. Um, and then I think you could, if you can do it while you do your PhD, I think that's even better. It's, I guess
Hmm.
I'm saying it's, you don't need to wait. You,
Yeah.
you already have the credentials and you already have the insight and the experience, and that's and in this day and time, I think the credentials matter less. They do matter, but they matter less than they did even 10 years ago. So it's being able to articulate ideas in a clear and compelling way that people receive as, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. And I think, and if you can do that, then you can you can do that forever. I mean, I'm getting ready to start the fourth season of the podcast, working 2 days a
Cool.
week. I mean, it's so, and I have never run out of people to talk to. So it, you know, and so it's just I keep going because there's a world of people to talk to who have interesting things to say, but who also have don't have a lot of exposure to other people, and
Yeah.
so we can celebrate in this case your work in the legal world of remote work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's right what you say. I don't have to work and I have to wait until I'm finished with my work. It's but that's something that I think many people often do and make this mistake that they're like, once I have achieved this, then I'm ready to get started. But I don't think I will feel much more ready once I have my title on the paper, than if I would start tomorrow. But I think that's also something that keeps us back from pursuing things or getting into the ne like up to the next level, since we're always waiting until we're better or we're more experienced or whatever. I think it's something that I'm very guilty of it. I always wait a little bit too long, maybe until I feel like, okay, now I can do it. Now I'm ready officially. But yeah,
Well,
that's
well,
interesting.
let me be more clear and specific in what I'm saying. You already have an authentic voice about this. You already
Mm,
have something to say. I mean, you're here and you're saying it, and I'm learning from you. So, um, you have already you're already at a point where you can speak publicly. You're already there. The purpose of a PhD is to deepen your understanding, deepen your knowledge of theory, and then craft some perspective that becomes something that you own, that this is my take on it, you know. And I mean, that's what I did when I published, you know, I'm going to dump books all over the floor. When I published this,
yeah.
you know, in 2018, this was the product of um, 30 years of work on leadership. Um, and, you know, and it's still selling today, you know, almost 8 years later. So, but I think the world is changing where the credentials only matter when you're moving between institutions. And
Mm,
but really where your influence or your impact will be is in how you speak to people who have real needs and really are seeking for information that can help them in their businesses. And you're already doing that. So
mm,
I just say keep doing
yeah.
what you're doing and but expand it as you can. And if you need help, you know, there are a lot of people that can help you, but it's technically it's not that difficult, and it doesn't require a tremendous amount of investment. And but your company should allow you to become the face of the company in this regard,
Mm,
and because you could be the face of the company as you talk about this in terms that are informing the public about these important issues, and 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 that's really valuable.
yeah.
I'm
Thanks
not
for saying
embarrassing you, or
that.
am I? I mean,
No, no,
yeah.
not at all.
Well,
It's
sorry, I wanted to embarrass you. No, I really do think you have something significant to offer, and so I wish you well
thank
as you
you.
venture forth. It's exciting,
It is. It's really exciting. It's just, yeah, feels like I'm just getting started and I'm curious to see where it all will lead. It can feel kind of frustrating during the PhD since you're just in this process of writing and crafting your ideas, but yeah, they're slowly coming together. But yeah, we'll see where it goes after that as well.
but the fact that you have been working before, you didn't go straight from undergraduate, graduate to postgraduate work. You have been working,
Um,
right?
I I think I worked for almost a year officially for this company and then a year unofficially. So I already started during university since it started as a startup back in 2022. And then in 2022, 23, I started working, like doing an internship there. And then, yeah, 23,
My
I think I
point
started
is that
working.
there's this space of time between two academic experiences.
Yeah,
And that practical life, practical experience is really valuable because it will have an effect upon how you view your PhD.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it'll be um, it'll work out much better for you because of having this practical experience.
Yeah. I've been working this whole time with this topic like on a practical point of view. So it has really helped me to, and also maybe also make it a little bit different. So or different from people who are just working at the university and writing at their PhD and they don't have any practical insight. And I've worked 80% until now. I just started working 60% this week, and then I will cut down this year more and more. But when I went to these courses, like people have very many abstract ideas and they have so much time to indulge in one problem. And for me, it's just more about more in this practical, yeah, line of work. But also it gives me I have a different writing style or a different way that I will write my thesis than somebody who is just this in this academic bubble. So for my topic, I think it's good that I have this practical insight and that I'm not just like theoretically assuming things. I have real life cases from customers that I can then, I analyze scenarios in my thesis. So I look at real life scenarios. So that also makes my work then more interesting because I have yeah, I have this theoretic point of view and then I also have like the real practical insight at the same time. So think it helps me, but it also just takes longer because work gets in the way the whole time.
Well, what you've just given to us is a pitch for why you are
Mm,
valuable in this knowledge space, if I can put it that way. And so I hope that people will reach out to you and seek you out for advice or work or whatever it may be. You know, it'll benefit their company, but it'll also benefit you. And I wish you well.
Thank you. Didn't want to pitch myself, but yeah, I just did.
Well, I want you to pitch yourself because you know, I've known you for almost 4 years now.
Yeah,
I think it's been 4 years, and you know, I it's lovely to watch someone that you met when they were still in school, and now they've moved into the work world, and they're advancing through the work world, and they're they have something fresh and new about them, and that's what I see. And so, and you know, I think it's great. So I just celebrate who you are and what you are doing, and the progress you've made, and look forward to hearing more about this as you dig into this PhD work.
thank you.
And you can come back and talk to us anytime you want.
I'll come back when I'm finished.
Don't wait that long. Don't wait that
Thank
long.
you.
Come back when you have something. Oh, I learned this, and we can talk about that. I mean, I'm really serious
Amazing.
about that because
Yeah,
I think people are interested in what people learn, and
yeah, yeah,
particularly when they're surprised by what they're learning. So
yeah.
so so
I'll be back.
thank you, Johanna, for being here, and thank you all for watching. Um, I want you to feel encouragement that the future has reason for hope. And here is a young woman who is moving through her life and demonstrating that, you know, there is opportunity there. And so I wish you well, and I thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time here on the Eddie Network podcast. Bye bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.